Nolan Wells bombshell. A witness tells us tonight, I went with Nolan's mother to the coroner's office, and this is what I saw.
I have an update for you in the Nolan Wells case. Nolan Wells' family has hired an audio expert to clean up the CTO call from July 4th, and there's one part people are really zeroing in on. People are watching about this. The dispatcher asks whether everyone is on board. The call appears to say,
all right, and is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
yeah, everyone is on board. That's what the caller appears to say. Now, some people are hearing that and saying that it conflicts with later accounts about Nolan being left behind on Horn Island. Maybe, we don't know. We have to be careful here because we don't know exactly what the caller meant by everyone who they believe was on board at the moment, or whether that interpretation is even correct. So that's all speculation right now, but they are examining. They hired a forensics audio person to deal with this, or an audio expert. For weeks, people online have been trying to solve this case by listening to muffled audio and deciding what they think it means. That's not enough. The experts may be able to tell us more clearly what was said, but what it means, that's supposed to be established by the evidence in the investigation. And that's where we are right now.
It has been almost 50 days. 50 days since Nolan Wells took his last breath on Horn Island. 50 days since a mother picked up a phone call that changed her life forever. And in those 50 days, this case has not stood still for a single moment. Christine Wells has been under fire. The family has faced pressure from every direction. Reports surfaced suggesting the family had not responded to certain federal inquiries. Ben Crump stepped forward to address those claims directly. And through all of it, Christine Wells has done one thing consistently. She has refused to stop pushing for the truth. Even in the midst of silence from the authorities, even in the midst of attacks on her character, her career, and her credibility, even when the system seemed determined to let this case quietly fade away, she kept pushing. And today, something happened that changes the temperature of this entire investigation. A witness has come forward, not anonymous this time, not a mysterious letter, not a carefully worded social media post. A live witness, someone who was present in the immediate aftermath of Nolan Wells's passing, someone who witnessed the series of events that followed the discovery of his body, and what they are revealing carries details that this case has never seen before. Chilling details. Details that shine a light on the gaps in this story, the unspoken truths, the things that were never said out loud but have always been sitting just beneath the surface of everything we have been told. Watch this video carefully. And when it is done, we want you to come into the comments and tell us one thing. Based on everything you just heard, based on everything this witness just revealed, what does this tell you about the circumstances surrounding Nolan Wells and the people who were with him on that island?
Tonight, an all-star panel, but first straight to a special guest, Josh Gill with the Cajun Navy, who, as you know, searched for Nolan's body. Josh, thank you for being with us. The
Morning, ma'am.
Day unfolded when Nolan's body was found very bizarrely. You were there. I'm going to get to your trip to the coroner's office along with the family, but I want you to start at the beginning. What happened at the beginning of that day? We believe that Nolan likely died on July the 4th. Let's start with the day that Nolan's body was found and that you ended up at the coroner's office. Start at the beginning.
So early that morning, I deployed some resources. I deployed an aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft that wheels up at 0635, as you can see right there from the photographs. I was on my way to the Lake Mars boat launch. That's where the Tactical Operations Center was set up. And I received a phone call. Received that phone call from the Sheriff's Department that a body had been found. Didn't say who it was. I was probably 15 minutes out from the location. I then received a phone call within minutes after the conversation from the sheriff's office from Nolan's mother, Christine, and she was frantic. that mother's intuition. She knew what was going on. So I'm meeting at the boat launch. I was there about 15 minutes ahead of time. Had
Hold on
conversations
just
with
one
the
moment.
sheriff.
Hold on.
Yep.
For those of you just joining us,
Yep.
Josh Gill is with us. He is the United Cajun Navy Incident Commander in the search for Nolan Wells. You stated that you received a phone call from Nolan's mother, Christine. You said she was frantic. What was she saying?
So again, I'm going to paraphrase. She said that they had found him, that they had found a body. My biggest concern at that exact moment was to make sure that she was safe, that she had, a safe way to get there, because it was the beginning of what's more than likely to be the worst day of her life. Again, so continuing on.
Hold on. Josh, you got me drinking from the fire hydrant here. Every word you're saying sparks 100 questions. So,
Sure.
Nolan Wells' mother calls you. Okay, where was she when she called?
She was en route to the boat launch as well. We were meeting there
Okay.
For the search.
Okay, had she been told that a body had been found?
Yeah, when she called me, so we had earlier communication, but via text, when she called me, she told me that a body had been found. She had been notified by the sheriff's department.
Oh, gosh. No wonder she was frantic. So she calls you. She's just been told by the sheriff a body has been found. She calls you. You're going to the boat launch. What boat launch? Where?
That's the Lake Mars boat launch.
Why there?
So that's where the operation was set up. That's where the search operations, the tactical operations center was there. They had a mobile command unit, and the multiple entities and agencies were basing their operations out of there. So what it is a boat launch. Again, they could launch rather quickly. It's a protected area to launch and then make that run to Horn Island and the surrounding areas.
Okay, so you agreed with her. Did she ask you to meet at the boat launch?
Oh, she knew I was going to that boat launch, and she actually asked me early that morning, where we were going to meet. And I told her, here's the best place. Here's where the operation is beginning.
Okay.
It was a secured location by the sheriff's department. So, that's where they were running their operation on. And that's a common practice.
Question, do you know why Nolan's mother wanted you to go with her to Horn Island?
So we had communication. She called me, literally called me. We had a voice conversation that Sunday morning, about 7 o'clock, 7:30. She had called and asked for some assistance. After that phone call, I asked to memorialize all of our conversations so I could go back and look at information. And that's not uncommon
What kind
for
of
families to
assistance
call
did
us.
she need?
Find my son. There it is.
So she asked you to help find her son, that assistance. Okay, got it. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, so she asked for that assistance, find my son, find Nolan. Started gathering information on who he is, who he was with, where he was. She made it very clear that he was with some friends, that they had been on Horn Island. So then I start launching resources immediately. And then after I launched the resources,
Hold on. Josh, what specifically did she say about him going to Horn Island with friends, if you can recall?
So she said that he went to Horn Island with friends. It's July 4th, and Horn Island's a location that's well known and well visited by people partying and hanging out for July 4th. It's a huge boating community, and that was a location where boats congregate and enjoy the 4th.
Okay, so she says he went to Horn Island on the 4th with friends. Got it, okay. So you meet at the boat ramp, and when you first saw her, what was her demeanor?
So she came to me. She gets out of the vehicle, comes to me, gives me a big hug. Again, it's a mother who, her intuition is that her body was just found. So obviously sad.
According to what we learned, the moment she gets out of the vehicle, she runs straight to you and is hyperventilating.
Absolutely. She came straight to
What
me.
happened?
20 feet. She gives me a big hug and starts crying. And Look, I'm a softie. I started crying with her. We literally sat in the parking lot on the ground in the gravel for probably 15 minutes. And we had some pretty deep discussions. She cried. I cried with her, and her husband was there as well. And I want to say this, that he's a very stoic individual, and he stood there with his hand on both of our shoulders and was a part of everything. It was one of those moments you don't forget.
What was she saying? What was she saying? I mean, in a moment like that, how do you console a mother, Josh, that has been told by this disembodied voice on the phone, we found a body? I mean, what was she saying? Did she not want to believe it was Nolan? Did she believe it was Nolan? At this point, she had not ID'd a body yet. Nobody had identified that this was Nolan. Was she holding out hope? What was going on?
She knew. Again, mother's intuition is strong. It's very strong. In her heart, she knew. As far as what she was saying, why is always the question, you know? She asked God, why? And the rest of the conversations were just, you know, memories real quick. And I'm assuming everything was just flashing in front of her eyes because, again, it's the beginning of the hardest time of her life. Losing her son. I was there just to console her and to help anyone I possibly could.
What was the dad saying, if anything?
You know, he was, he was really quiet. He was a quiet gentleman, but his physical presence afforded her, made her feel safe. And I will say that, you know, he stood there with us, you know, on the ground. He's there. And his presence said a lot, and it meant a lot to his wife, to Miss Christine. And again, that's a tough time for him as well.
So she's crying. You state that she knows deep inside that that body is her boy, her son. You start crying. Did you remain standing in the parking lot, or did you sit down?
No, ma'am. Like I said, when she first came to me, she gave me a big hug, and I wrapped my arms around her, and we sat down. We sat very quickly. We remained seating for quite some time to have that discussion, say a prayer. I did pray with her right there. Yes, ma'am. On the ground, in the gravel.
Y'all were sitting
right
on the...
Yeah.
And you said she was hyperventilating. You sit on the ground. I believe I heard you say that you started praying.
Always. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Was she praying that it wasn't Nolan?
So, you know, and again, I'm paraphrasing and going from the best of my memory. It was more of a prayer for peace and comfort is what I did. You know, and I always ask for that, and then for answers, you know, and I prayed Godspeed if it is Nolan, and, you know, for the Lord to put his protecting hands over us and everything that we do, and to be with this family and this mother, especially during these hard times. You know, it's an emotional time.
I cannot even imagine. I'm trying to get my head around the picture of you and Miss Christine sitting on the ground in a parking lot with her crying after just been told we found a body, and she knows it's Nolan.
Well, sure.
I thank God that you were there. I thank God that you and Nolan's dad were there to help her. I don't know how she even stood up. How did you get her to stand up?
So it was about 15 minutes we were there on the ground, and you know, a couple times the sheriffs came up and he saw what was going on, and the sheriff's staff, and they understood that it was one of those moments where we need some space. She finally, and I hate to say she called her composure because it was an emotional time for me as well as the father, you know, and we stood up and the sheriff came over and, you know, he started discussing what the process would be. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
I don't know how she even stood up. Okay, so you help her up off the ground. Yeah. Okay, then what happens?
So family and friends started to arrive, and the security let them in, and the sheriff came up, and the sheriff again he had to help deliver that news, that a body was found and do his formal, and I hate to say notification because at this point he didn't say if it was Nolan or not, but he explained that a body was found and where they would be bringing that body to. And from there, the family gathered, and it was, I'd say, a matter of 15, 20 minutes maybe. We were then escorted. Christine asked me to accompany them to the coroner's office, which I was extremely honored to do so. And then the sheriff's department escorted us to that coroner's office.
Can I ask you something, Josh? When the sheriff came over, was it the sheriff or a deputy sheriff?
It was the sheriff.
The sheriff. He comes over
Yes,
and formally tells her what she was already told on the phone. A body has been found. Had the body already been taken to the coroner's office?
It was en route. So it was en route to the coroner's office, and he told us, he told Christine, here's what's going on. Here's where you need to go for further information. And again, extremely professional, extremely polite. And the biggest word I can use was he was compassionate. His staff was extremely compassionate. I can't take that away from him.
How was she at that moment? Was she just numb? Did she ask questions, or did she just stand there and take it? What was her response to the sheriff coming over face to face telling her we found a body? Because, a lot of times, this from all of the bodies that you have helped recover. Guys, joining me is Josh Gill. He's our special guest tonight with the United Cajun Navy. He's the incident commander, and he was in on the search for Nolan from the beginning, and he went to the coroner's office along with the family, along with the mother and the father. So when the sheriff was, I guess, formally delivering this to her, a lot of people, when they hear it on the phone, they don't want to believe it. I didn't when it happened to me. I thought, did I get that wrong? So he comes up and tells her to her face, and there's no way to mistake what he's saying. He's right there in front of her. How did Miss Christine respond?
Just as any parent would respond. Tears, shock, disbelief, I think are some good words. But again, I don't want to take away from the compassion and the professionalism of the sheriff's department at that point. And there were more people coming up, right? And at that point, the sheriff had conversation with the mother again, and the family, and just explain the process on what was going to happen next as far as where Nolan was going, and then moving from there. But I do want to add that, during these conversations, I reiterated to the mother and, Mr. Elmore, that Nolan will be treated with the utmost dignity and respect through the process. I wanted to explain that because that's something that parents always need to hear. Family members, that their loved one will be treated with dignity and respect.
So you guys make it to the coroner's office. What happens when you get to the coroner's office and Nolan's body is already there?
Correct. So we go to the coroner's office, we sit down. The coroner, he comes in, rather quickly, 10, 15 seconds once the table was filled with all the people, family members, friends, myself.
What table? Were you in a conference room?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. A conference
Oh
room
gosh,
table.
at the medical examiners or the coroners, everything is so sterile. And everyone I've ever been to.
So this was like an office conference room. You walked right in the door and there it was. Didn't really have that feeling of a coroner's office, if that's fair to say. More like a business office conference room. He walks in, very polite gentleman, very professional, well-spoken, soft-spoken as well. And, basically said that, they found a body, and from initial appearance, he identified him as Nolan. He did want to take a DNA swab or get a DNA sample from the family just for, further confirmation and for, I guess, record keeping, whatever it was. But then he also, she asked about the condition, and he went into, there were no immediate signs of foul play. Okay. To me, again, my opinion in hearing this is, no signs of blunt force trauma, or any, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, any, signs of foul play, what we would consider that.
Well, I guess they hadn't seen that big red mark on the back of his occipital yet, underneath the skin. And I take it at this juncture, Josh, his throat had not been dissected to look for potential subcutaneous bruising. So
Sure.
You're telling me that from a cursory look at Nolan Wells's body, there was no sign of foul play.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our village pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
What'd you say? Hey,
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
it's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down.
That I did not know that existed. And if this is authentic radio transmission between the dispatcher and the caller, then certainly this turns it on its head. They're observing him injured, asking if he's dead. Whoever on that call, with the technology we have now, and with interviews amongst the folks who were there, or the phone that the emergency call came from, the dispatcher has that number. Someone can get it. Then you'll go to the person who made the call and say, what did you see? This is real easy if that is the case. So we'll see what they do with this evidence. The fact that there's some audio from the dispatcher where the person calling asks, or in the background, one or the other, asks, oh my God, is he dead? So that's a whole new level of evidence that I'm interested in seeing where they go with that. It sounds like you're looking at something that has already happened, and you witnessed what happened, and you're saying, did he die from what I just saw? That's what you're saying. Oh, is he dead? Well, what? Somebody walked you from around the park and said, hey, or around the other boat dock and say, hey, come look at this. No, you were there. So if that video and audio is correct, it's a whole nother level of evidence that indicates culpability